The 76ers won a game. The 76ers won a game. They had not won a game since Christmas. Do you remember Christmas? When you were wearing all those different outfits? That was the last time they won a basketball game. Richardson had 23. Ben Simmons had 17 and 15 and 9. Or 17, 15, and 8. What do you think about the production that they got from Simmons last night?
The difference wasn't Simmons, it was Richardson. First thing you said, 23 points. You got to get some guard play, especially from the perimeter, out of he and Ben Simmons. I've said over the last year and a half, I really love Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid so much that if they were isolated and you were building teams around them, I think that would be the better construction for them individually. Because think about this. Joel Embiid is one of the most talented bigs in the game. You want him to stay near the basket, but he has the skills to drift. Ben Simmons is the tallest point guard in the game and is a great finisher in the paint and plays point guard, but he don't play outside of the paint offensively at all. So it's almost like their strengths in a half court don't necessarily complement one another. And so when you get points from Richardson, hopefully they start to get Al Horford more involved. When you get buckets from Tobias Harris, it now diversifies their offensive attack. Because to me, you're going to need those guys, Ben Simmons, to put up those numbers every night. But you're going to need Joel Embiid to put up more numbers every night if they're going to win.
Let's just check in on Joel Embiid in this one particular play. You know what I'm talking about. He goes, and it looks like someone comes down on him there. It's kind of funky. But then when you see the results of that, look at that finger, Jalen. Now, anyone who played a lot of basketball has had this happen to them.
Yes.
And one thing, when that happened to me, I didn't play basketball for 2 months. He was out for like 3 minutes of game time and came back all taped up and played not bad. What do you think about the dislocated finger?
So first, for people that don't play sports, in particular professional sports, let's not downplay what you just saw. That ain't normal.
No, finger's not supposed to point that direction.
That's one of his digits. Now, for us that have been willing to sacrifice our bodies for the game that we love, it seems more like commonplace. So when I see his fingers like that, it reminds me of old school Bernard King. He used to buddy tape his hands. He used to jam his fingers all of the time. And so this is how we grew up playing the game. You would see that happen and people pop it back in.
Yep.
Ronnie Lott infamously basically had his finger removed during the game.
Kobe Bryant had a famous dislocation.
Yes. So it does happen, but I want to give Joel Embiid props because I see a more mature young man that's translating out on the floor this year. The ability to not only be productive, but his acceptance of criticism and his ability to embrace the expectations that they have.
Well, Brett Brown, before the game, talked about Ben Simmons and his shooting. Let's check in with the Sixers head coach.
And this is true. And so, evidently I have failed. And it's something that we're all mindful of. And this is one of these things that is never going to go away. The attention that this has received is remarkable, but I guess I help fuel it. And, I own it. Like, I got to help him, find this. And most importantly, he has to help himself.
How about the fact that Brett Brown coached Ben Simmons' father back in the day in Australia?
That's crazy.
Just think about how things come full circle. So I agree that we should accept Ben Simmons for the player that he is. I don't think that this is a coaching staff failure. Now, coincidentally, we having this conversation the day after Markelle Fultz, who couldn't make shots in Philadelphia, just had his career-high 26 points. And he went and got his confidence back.
I think it was 25, but yep.
He had to go somewhere else to get his confidence. It's one thing if he's not making shots outside of the paint. It's another thing if he's not attempting them.
Well, here's what I think Brett Brown alluded to this. You know, because I'm a mentally weak basketball player, right? And I'm not saying that that's Ben Simmons at all. But what I'm saying is, remember, Joel Embiid said something about it last week. Every time we talk about the Sixers, especially when they lose 4 games in a row, we talk about Ben Simmons shooting. And I think it's become sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy that he's overthinking it because we're over-discussing it. And it becomes like a vicious cycle of Ben Simmons can't shoot, Ben Simmons can't shoot. But they're going to end up playing great in the playoffs.
But that's what happens in sports because – first off, your job is to hopefully get better at your craft and definitely practice on your weaknesses, no matter how many all-star appearances you have. Mm-hmm. That's what the great players hopefully did each offseason, came back with something different. And a lot of us cheered for Ben Simmons when he made a shot in the preseason from 3 because we thought that was going to be a trend.
And we'll see. You know what I miss? Where was that James Harden one-footed three-point shot from the summer?
What'd I tell you?
Where did that one go?
We're so glad you're watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, make sure you subscribe to ESPN Plus. We'll see you there.